On October 9, 2024, an 86-year-old man quietly passed away in India. But this was no ordinary man. At the time of his death, he had a net worth of about $1.2 billion, and even that number barely scratched the surface of who he truly was. His name was Ratan Tata. He built a $365 billion global empire, revived dying brands, shaped entire industries, and, most importantly, gave away most of his wealth while no one was watching and lived a simple life. Which leaves one question: how did a man with the power of a billionaire end up living a life that looked nothing like one? Let's pull the thread. From broken home to Cornell's halls, Ratan Tata's life didn't start with the stability people assume comes with the Tata name. In 1948, when he was 10, his parents, Naval and Soon, separated. He was taken in and formally adopted by his grandmother, Bai Tata. The family name remained, but the foundation he stood on shifted early. School became a series of exits and entrances. Campion School, then Cathedral, and John Connon, then Bishop Cotton in Shimla. Each move forced him to adjust quickly, rebuild routines, and learn how to stay steady in unfamiliar places. By the time he graduated from Riverdale Country School in New York in 1955, he had already become someone who could adapt to almost anything. At Cornell University, he made a choice no one expected. He studied architecture instead of business or engineering. For him, designing structures made more sense than following a predetermined path. He graduated in 1962 and briefly worked at Jones & Emmons in Los Angeles, focusing on buildings, not boardrooms. But the pull of home came sooner than planned. In late 1962, at 24, he returned to India and joined the Tata Group. No special privileges were waiting for him. His first job was on the shop floor at Tata Steel, shoveling limestone beside workers who didn't know they were standing next to a future chairman. It was the first real test of whether he could earn the right to lead. From there, he climbed the ranks. The NELCO gamble and leadership forged in failure. In the early 1970s, Ratan Tata was handed National Radio and Electronics Company Limited, better known as NELCO, a failing subsidiary with just 2% market share. Most leaders would have tried to slow the bleeding. Tata chose to rebuild the company from scratch. He shut down NELCO's core radio business, the very product it was known for, and redirected the company towards satellite communication and modern electronic components. It was a gamble that could have ended his career, but within 3 years, NELCO's market share jumped from 2% to 20%. The company finally showed signs of life. Then 1975 hit. The emergency froze the economy, consumer spending collapsed, and NELCO's turnaround evaporated almost overnight. The company fell apart through no fault of his own. Most people break there. Tata didn't. He studied what happened, understood how external forces can crush even a perfect strategy, and walked away wiser. That resilience caught the attention of Tata Group leadership, who saw someone capable of facing failure head-on and emerging stronger. Later that year, he joined Harvard Business School's Advanced Management program. It wasn't about another credential. It was preparation for responsibilities no one yet knew he would one day carry. 1991, the coronation and the cleanup. In 1991, the leadership of the Tata Empire shifted. After more than 50 years at the helm, J.R.D. Tata stepped down and named Ratan Tata as chairman of Tata Sons. It was a handover at one of the most volatile moments in India's economic history. The country had just opened its markets, foreign corporations were preparing to enter, and the old protectionist way of doing business was collapsing. What Ratan inherited wasn't a streamlined powerhouse. It was a scattered network of 95 companies operating like separate kingdoms. Some were profitable, some were barely surviving, and many were led by executives who considered themselves untouchable. A structure like that wasn't just inefficient, it was dangerous. It was an open invitation for hostile takeovers. Ratan Tata moved quickly. He increased Tata Sons' control over its companies, pulled power back to the center, and replaced leaders who refused to modernize. Businesses that drained resources were shut down or sold. Long-time executives who had spent decades running their divisions without oversight suddenly found themselves answering to a unified command. Then came the part no one expected. He enforced a strict code of ethics across the entire group. In a market where corruption was considered normal, this decision looked almost out of place, but it wasn't. It was a strategy. While competitors relied on influence and loopholes, Tata built something more challenging to obtain: trust. And that trust would become the foundation for everything that followed. The global shopping spree, Tetley, Chorus, and Jaguar Land Rover. By the early 2000s, Ratan Tata was done cleaning house. The empire was reorganized, the power centers consolidated, and the culture rebuilt. Now he wanted scale, real scale, and he didn't look inside India for it. He looked outward. Ford. What followed stunned the business world. An Indian company began buying the very Western brands that had once dominated it. In 2000, Tata Tea bought Tetley, Britain's largest tea company. For decades, Tetley made its fortune selling Indian tea to the rest of the world. Now, ownership had reversed. But this wasn't about symbolism. Tetley gave Tata immediate access to global supply chains, strong branding in dozens of countries, and a consumer reach India had never built on its own. In 2007, Tata Steel made an even bolder move, acquiring Chorus in Europe. Overnight, Tata gained world-class technology, new automotive clients, and production capabilities that pushed it into the top tier of global steelmakers. Then came 2008, the acquisition that defined Ratan Tata's legacy. Jaguar Land Rover. Ford was exhausted from trying to revive the brand. JLR was expensive, unstable, and losing money. But something unusual happened behind the scenes. JLR employees told Ford they preferred the Tata Group as the buyer, not because Tata offered the highest price, but because Tata had a reputation for fairness, stability, and long-term thinking. It's strange that workers trusted a company they had never worked for more than the corporations they already knew. Tata didn't let that trust go to waste. Within a few years, JLR wasn't just stable, it was thriving. Sales surged in China and India, and the company became one of Tata's biggest profit engines. By the time Ratan Tata stepped down in 2012, the group no longer looked like an Indian conglomerate trying to expand abroad. It was a global force. More than 65% of its revenue came from outside India. The company he inherited at $4 billion in value had crossed $100 billion. He didn't just expand the Tata Group, he rewrote its identity. The Nano dream, compassion over profit. Ratan Tata's most honest project wasn't the one that made the most money. It was the one that made him the biggest loss. One evening in Mumbai, during heavy monsoon rain, he saw a family of 4 balancing on a single scooter. The father is steering. The mother is clutching an infant. Another child squeezed between them, all soaked. All it takes is one slip away from disaster. The image stuck with him. It wasn't a business opportunity, it was a problem he felt responsible for solving. He became fixated on creating a car that India's lower middle-class families could actually afford. A real car. 4 doors, safe, practical, priced at 1 lakh rupees. Engineers called it unrealistic. Analysts warned it would hurt existing sales. Dealers said the margins were too thin. He pushed ahead anyway. In 2009, the Tata Nano arrived. The world's cheapest car. 4 seats, fuel-efficient, met safety requirements, and, remarkably, it hit the promised price. It was a genuine engineering achievement born from a simple idea: give ordinary families a safer way to travel. But the launch stumbled. The Nano was advertised as the cheapest car, and that label poisoned the product. In a country where status mattered as much as utility, no one wanted to be seen driving the car that announced you couldn't afford anything better. Sales collapsed, the project bled money, and still, Ratan Tata didn't see it as a mistake. To him, the Nano was proof that business could reach people who were usually ignored, that companies could innovate for safety and dignity, not just profit. It failed as a commercial product, but it succeeded as a statement of intent. The philanthropic empire, giving away billions. Ratan Tata's wealth never stayed in one place. With most of Tata Sons owned by charitable trusts, the profits of his empire flowed into education, healthcare, rural development, and scientific research. His focus wasn't on accumulating wealth, but on spreading its impact. He built institutions that would outlast him. Cornell, Harvard, MIT, IIT Bombay, IISC, and UC San Diego all expanded because of his support. But his clearest acts of compassion were the quiet ones, sending trucks to riot victims in 1984, standing with Taj Hotel employees after the 2008 attacks, and even asking for blood donors to save a stray dog in 2024. The startup investor and modern visionary, even well into his 70s and 80s, Ratan Tata didn't slow down. While most leaders his age retreated from risk, he leaned into it. He began quietly investing in startups, not for profit, but to help build the next generation of Indian innovators. He backed Ola when it was still standing up to Uber, invested in Snapdeal as Indian e-commerce took shape, supported T-Box, Cashkaro, Nestaway, and dozens of others. In 2015, he even took a stake in Xiaomi, seeing early what affordable smartphones would mean for a country of over 1 billion people. And in one of his most personal ventures, he launched Goodfellows, a companionship service that paired seniors with young graduates to combat loneliness. Every investment had the same pattern: technology that helped ordinary people, ideas that created opportunity, solutions aimed at real, everyday problems. He wasn't chasing hype. He was building the kind of future he wanted India to inherit. The personal life. 4 times almost. Behind all the accomplishments, a part of Ratan Tata's life remained unresolved. He never married, he had no children, and in 2011, he admitted something quietly heartbreaking. He had come close to marriage 4 different times, and each time he stepped away. He never explained the reasons. Maybe it was the shadow of his parents' divorce. The final chapter, October 9, 2024. On October 7, 2024, Ratan Tata was admitted to Breach Candy Hospital in critical condition. 2 days later, at 11:30 p.m. on October 9th, he passed away at 86. The nation responded instantly. Maharashtra and Jharkhand declared mourning. He received a state funeral with full honors, a 21-gun salute, a police guard of honor, and the Indian flag over his body. People across India mourned him like a family elder. Shops closed, students held vigils, and stories of his kindness flooded social media. His will revealed an estate of roughly 10,000 crore rupees, most of it left to charity and the people who mattered to him. Even in death, he continued giving. Ratan Tata proved you can build a global empire without abandoning ethics or compassion. His true legacy lives in the students he uplifted, the workers he protected, and the lives he quietly changed. Millions mourned him not for his wealth, but for the integrity that shaped every decision he made. Thank you for watching. Tap the next video to continue the journey.